And now we have Warren Grover, who is running for County Commissioner, District 3. Horseshoe Bend, Boise.
Terry, and thank you all for being here. My name is Warren Grover. I live in Horseshoe Bend. Been there 3 years. Been in Idaho for 12 years. When I was trying to think of what I wanted to say tonight, I had some difficulty because in the last 3 months I've been in this building 4 times talking to citizens in the Garden Valley area. So I hope I don't repeat things and bore you, but I probably will. First, like has been said, I want to thank all the candidates, whether they're here tonight or the ones you saw last week, for getting involved. We're blessed to live in a country where it's possible to have a changing of the guard every few years if we have election integrity. Our forefathers believed it best if regular citizens stepped up to help govern for a limited time and then went back to their normal occupations and lives. They did not envision the rise of a class of full-time elitist politicians who think they know better for us than we do, and they don't even ask us. So I thank all the candidates for throwing their hats in the ring and making the effort to improve the county, the state, and the country, and get us back on the right path. And I want to thank all of you for being here tonight to listen to us and to ask us questions about the issues and our beliefs. We must have an informed voter constituency if we are to elect those who will do the best job of governing. Unfortunately, too often voters cast their ballots for a myriad of other reasons, like, his family's been here for generations. That's nice. Can he do the job of county commissioner? So again, I thank all of you for being here. My background is pretty well spelled out on the flyers I have over there and on my Facebook page, so I'm not going to repeat what you can easily read. I do want to say that I believe my leadership and managerial skills have been proven by my 26 years in the active and reserves of the United States Air Force. I retired as a lieutenant colonel, and by my years in both sales management and operations management in my civilian occupations. My education includes a master's degree in business administration and a secondary degree in business administration and a secondary degree as an educator. So I can use that knowledge I've gained from those to address many of the issues that county commissioners face. Mary and I moved to Idaho in 2009 from Alaska, hoping to find a truly conservative political environment. But as many of you are aware, there are a lot of candidates and public officials who say they're true conservatives, but they're not. We have a big herd of rhinos in Idaho. Mary and I have 3 daughters who are grown and very successful in their own occupations. But unfortunately, when they left their house, they took all the magic wands with them. And I say that to let you know that I don't have any magic solution for all the problems and issues we have here in the county. But by working together, I'd love to work with some of the candidates that have spoken here tonight and work with you, the citizens. I believe we can address those issues and come up with viable solutions. And we do have issues here in the county. As has been mentioned, property taxes have risen greatly in the last few years, to the point that some people cannot afford to stay in their homes. That's wrong. We need at least a 2-pronged attack to address this issue. First, the state needs to work on this issue by revamping or possibly even removing property taxes. The state sets the procedure for all of the county assessors in the state to use in setting the value for your property. And the assessors, as elected officials, have to follow the law. If they don't, the county can find itself in a big problem. The state will step in and take over the function. So be sure to talk to your state legislators and demand that they address this issue. Secondly, we all need to work with all of the taxing districts that are using our taxes that we pay on property taxes to make sure they're being as financially prudent as possible while still providing the services needed and desired by the citizens. I I have 7 taxing districts that use my property tax, and I'm sure you have a similar number. When you get your tax bill, it will include a listing of all the taxing districts that your dollars are financing. And it will give the date of the meeting at which they are approving their budget for the next fiscal year. You need to get involved by attending those meetings and letting the boards of those districts, including the county, know that you want them to be sure to keep their budgets at a reasonable and responsible level. As has been mentioned several times tonight, we need honesty and transparency in all areas of government. We need to vote out those in public office who fail to keep their oath, who fail to do the job they were elected or appointed to do, and who fail to follow the U.S. and Idaho Constitution. At the county level, we need to work, as Rick said, to ensure that all citizens can access the county commissioners and the meetings, so you know what's going on. Yes, you can read the minutes in the Idaho World, but do you know they don't have to print them verbatim? That's an article to the Idaho World. It's not the actual minutes. To see the actual minutes, you have to go on the county commissioner's website. And it used to be hard to find. Well, I and a couple other people brought that up at the commissioners' meetings, and now they have a separate section for the meetings. It used to be they had a separate section for all meetings from years past, but to find the meetings for current year, you had to look up under the agenda for that meeting, even though the meeting had already occurred. That didn't make any sense to me. And like Rick was talking, with the technology we have today, the meetings should be able to be live streamed, so you can see them in real time, or later, access them at your convenience. Also, it should be possible, again, what Rick had to say, via programs such as Zoom, that you can actually take part in the meetings and give your 3 minutes of constituent input if you have something to say to the commissioners. And a lot of people do not realize that if you have something that requires more than the allotted 3 minutes, you can ask to be put on the agenda at the next commissioners meeting. Emergency medical services are needed to be more readily available in some parts of our county. Maybe we need more ambulance districts. Maybe we need a district that covers the entire county. There is no easy answer, but it needs to be looked at. We need to look at all possible alternatives to solve this problem. Road improvements will always be an issue in a large rural county such as Boise. But we need to address all possible sources of funding available through the many grant programs that are out there. We also need to address hiring and keeping and training good equipment operators. Now, we hire people, get them trained, and they leave. Planning for growth needs to be high on our list of priorities. While many in the county do not wish to see change, which is caused by such growth, it's coming, whether we want it or not. Over at Horseshoe Bend, we're just starting to see Avonmore starting to move up the hill. And we should plan for it rather than just let it happen. We need to look at more use of impact fees and at having developers becoming more involved in providing necessary infrastructure improvement as a requirement for them to get county approval for their applications. Voting integrity. While this is something we're all aware of at the national level, I've seen the movie 2,000 Mules, and I certainly encourage you to do likewise. But we need to work to ensure that everything is done to keep and maintain voting integrity at the county level. Past history shows that voting irregularities can occur at any level of government. The job of commissioner is not a part-time job. We need a commissioner who will be present and attending meetings on a regular basis. We need strong conservative leadership based on the old-fashioned principles of Christianity and the Constitution. That's why I'm running, and that's why I would be the best candidate for District 3 County Commissioner. Thank you very much.
Dino wants to ask a question.
Imagine that.
You brought up impact fees.
Yes, sir.
Does this county even have impact fees? It doesn't, does it not?
No.
Are you guys going to implement it? The reason I ask this is just a little road I live on. Last year's car count was 336 cars a day. I get to see every one. And what amazes me is these subdivisions keep showing up, and showing up. The young lady over there was with the Canyon County. Sheriff's Department, she's right. Why should we be paying the burden for these guys? We need impact fees desperately, and also with Avamore, we need that majorly. That's a lot of revenue that we can have. What would you do for us?
Well, I talked to a gentleman with, on the Horseshoe Bend Fire, Commissioner in Horseshoe Bend Fire District, and he was telling me about his experience as a county commissioner in California before he moved here. He said at first when they went to developers and started telling them, hey, you know, you're going to pay for this and you're going to do this and do that, the developer said, no way. But after the people really started wanting to move into that area, the developer said, okay, now we see what we need to do and we will do it. And that's what we've got to do here if we're going to make that work. And we will make it work.
I don't have a question, it's just an announcement. There is a presentation on getting impact fees approved, or whatever the word would be. It's going to happen on Tuesday across at the church on Tuesday. I'll get more information, but the fire department's talking about it, and I believe some county commissioners are going to be there.
Oh, that's right.
Right? Yeah, so it is being talked about.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay.
Jason.
I don't recall who wrote about giving Ben Sloman back to the state. I know it's been talked about for years, and which would be great because that 33 miles of road costs a lot of money and a lot of potholes right now. But there are some negative parts to that, and mainly with like UTV, ATVs. So the state registration, you can't drive them on state roads. So if it becomes a state road, then the economic driver of all of the side-by-sides, people coming to camp and stuff like that, which some people don't like, but I have one, I drive it all the time, thanks Sloman, going to the dump, post office, whatever, that, you know, if that was to happen, or, you know, the state was to take it over, I would hope that we could still drive 33 miles end to end, accessing our Forest Service roads and enjoying the forest while we live here. And so just kind of what's your opinion on that?
Well, I know that we've discussed that in another meet and greet, I believe. I don't know the whole history, and I want to find out why all this happened. I've heard that at one point the state wanted to give it back to, or the county wanted to give it back to state, and some county commissioners said no. I'm not sure why that would have happened, but I know that we need to contact ITD as well as talk to people who have been here for years. Dino might know some answers on this. What actually occurred? I need to know the history of it, and I don't at this time. But I would certainly hope that we can negotiate something so that the ATVs can also use the road. I can't guarantee that at all, but I would certainly love to look into it and find out more and make a good decision.
Okay, Rick.
I would just like to ask if, and we've had this discussion before, and I understand yours as far as being a state highway and not having access. I was also under the impression, and again, I have not seen the documents. I've asked to see them. I've asked to meet with IDT. Let's not talk to a public affairs person. Let's talk to the director and show us documents that say either way which way it's supposed to go, first of all. The other thing I heard was that there is supposed to be more funding available to the county to maintain it as banks long. So there's a couple issues here. And I think just based on your question, you'd rather see us collect money from the state to maintain it than turn it back into the state highway.
If that's a better option, yeah. You know, so that we have our local control of it, and then hopefully that our county workers, because we still have other roads to maintain, and so if we don't have money coming from the state, because, you know, how many people drive end to end going to Stanley or whatever throughout the year? I mean, there's so much other traffic that we don't get any revenue from. And so, but yeah, we need some state money, I believe, to maintain it, and then we can maybe pay our county road and bridge people better, and, you know, then our other roads can be better maintained.
Well, as I'm sure you're all aware, we need to talk to IDD about several things in this county. Down here, when you come on Banks Roman Road, you all know how long you might have to wait sometimes. Flaggers help, but they're not there all the time. In Horseshoe Bend, I live behind the Chevron station. When I leave home, I turn, and to try and get across 55, you just can't do it. So I sneak something that Chevron actually has put up signs saying if you want to leave, if you're heading to Boise, go through their parking lot and out the back entrance, because then you just have one lane of traffic fight, and then you go into the suicide lane and wait for an opening. But it's terrible. I have heard that ITD wants to talk to the city of Horseshoe Bend about a bypass. That might be something that has worked out well. I've talked to some people that seem to have worked in other cities around the state, and without hurting the businesses. That's my concern there. You've got to look at something that's going to help the businesses, or at least not hurt them. But ITD, we need to talk to them. And I'm not saying I have an end, but I have a friend in Horseshoe Bend who used to work at ITD, and the gentleman she worked for is now the director of ITD. So I might be able to get introduced to her. And speaking of that, I know a lot of the legislators. I have helped get 3 pieces of legislation through, worked on others, and I know these legislators. I've worked with Dorothy Moon, I've worked with Jennifer McGeehan, Priscilla Giddings, Heather Scott, Ron Nate, and all of those people I've worked with are strong conservatives. And if we have something that we need to get done, they would support us.
Any other questions?
Thank you very
I
much.
think you're done. Thank you. Well, I'd like to thank you all for coming tonight. We appreciate you all for coming.